Welcome to Road America as Ferrari turns this fantastic circuit red for this weekend of the Ferrari Challenge. An extraordinary place just outside the village of Gelderlee. This extraordinary track, some 4 miles long and really challenging for the drivers, will offer a fitting test in the sunshine as well, as the weather conditions are glorious and set for our drivers across their races this weekend as we reach the very sharp end of Ferrari Challenge North America for 2023. Having been to Miami and Coppa and Road Atlanta and Montreal and Sonoma, here we find ourselves then at Road America, ready for the lights to go green. Here we are, Road America then, and Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell Race 1 of 2 across the weekend is about to get underway for our mix of Shell and Shell&AM drivers. The Shell drivers with the yellow strip across the top of the windscreen, and for identification purposes for you, the AM drivers with the black strip across the top of the windscreen. So that's how you can identify who is what and where. And wow, what a season we have had. Homestead, Miami, Coppa, Road Atlanta, Montreal, Sonoma, and here we are, Road America, with all roads leading to Tuscany in Italy for the Finale Mondiale in Mugello right at the end of October. But of course, we have a couple of races to deal with here in Road America, first of all for our Coppa Shell drivers. So they are champing at the bit to get going, that's for sure. And this is Road America, a truly wonderful location for a track, Shay.
It really is one of the most beautiful racetracks in all of North America. We are located in Wisconsin, about an hour north of Milwaukee, 2 hours north of Chicago. On par almost with Toronto, so to put it in context of where we are, but this beautiful circuit is 4.048 miles carved into the countryside in the mid-1950s. We've got 14 turns, goes up a little bit, then it goes downhill. You've got the long duration of the carousel coming into the kink, then Canada corner, and it is all uphill from Canada, very much so. You've got turn 14, which is the corner to try and get right, because if you get it wrong, you've got a long time to think about it, into a very hard braking zone for turn 1. Turn 5 is another great passing opportunity, but ultimately this track full of potential and adventure.
Full of potential and adventure, you're absolutely right. And that big, big climb from turn 14 across the start-finish line. Air temperature currently 20 degrees, track temperature 29 degrees. There's about 11 kilometers per hour of wind around, which is just fluttering a little breeze, if you will. So Cameron Reuter was the driver that put it on pole position for Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell. For Coppa Shell&AM, it was Bruce Cleveland, who's having something of a purple patch at the moment. And he'll be hoping to convert that pole position into the race win. But the likes of Dan Cornish and Lisa Clark might have something to say about that, as too Mike Gray-Falver and David Veronin in our Shell category as well, as they'll be chasing down Cameron Reuter, that's for sure.
Mike Luley not starting today's race, meaning we have 28 Ferraris on the grid for this Coppa Shell race, the 11th of the season, and the penultimate round in North America. So lots of excitement coming our way. And we've got to get things started before we can get the car started. Amanda Busick gets that honor today.
Shay, I was taking a look at the entry list here that we're going to see on grid, and it's going to be a mix of veterans and new guys, some people that have seen this track and some people had not. Mixed class racing. Hold on to your seats as we get ready for Coppa Shell. And now, for one last time, Shay, I know you're jealous that I'm the one that gets to say it, but drivers, start your Ferrari engines.
I'm just proud that you get to say it, Amanda. We got to keep this girl power going in the Ferrari paddock.
I've been frozen out of that job, haven't I?
But hey, it all comes down to whoever Richard decides gets to say, driver, start your engines. He's the one with the stopwatch who says we have to hit this specific time. But it is a wonderful grid down there, and the big challenge is going to be for our Coppa Shell&AM pole sitter, Bruce Cleveland. Qualified on pole, but the 16th car on the grid means that he is starting on the dirty side of the track, as you were, well, dirty-ish side of the track, the non-preferred line. So will that give the advantage to Dan Cornish starting in second? We'll have to wait and see.
Well, Dan Cornish, who's had some success this season, that's for sure. Just as we were looking at the David Veronin car, which goes from P2 in Coppa Shell, you may think, they are not the colours of David Veronin in the 177 car. Please explain why, Shay.
Well, Roy Carroll is very kind and has a backup car that he is not utilizing, so David Veronin, who had an incident in testing, has elected to use Roy Carroll's car. So there are 2 Be Safe entries out there. Don't be confused like I have been multiple times so far this weekend. David Veronin qualifying in the 2nd position, still trying to take this championship away from Cameron Root, but Cameron getting the bonus point for pole. He's doing everything he can to extend that championship lead.
Who will do what and where and why? We are about to find out, because it is time for Ferrari Challenge. Coppa Shell, race 1 of the weekend. We'll bring you the grid in full, bearing in mind 2 classes within the one race, our Coppa Shell drivers and our Coppa Shell&AM drivers. Pole position went the way of Cameron Root, and P2 goes to David Veronin. What battles they've had in the season so far with Gray Falva and Ray Acosta, both danger men from P3 and P4.
Starting in the 5th position, it's Cyril Choksi, a driver still with a shot at the championship, and then 6th was Tor Haugen. The next row back, 7th, was Paul Loska, a newcomer to this championship, fairly new, but doing very impressive work, and Frank Szczesniak looking to try and mix things up again in 8th.
As we go to the 5th row of the grid, we find Osvaldo Gaia and Rob McWilliams. They go from P9 and P10. And on row 6 of our Coppa Shell grid, we find Jan Bernier and Eric Marston.
Then in the next row back, it's John Viscup and Matt Dalton sharing the 13th and 14th spots, with Roy Carroll rounding out our Shell grid alongside our Shell&AM pole sitter, Bruce Cleveland.
From Bruce Cleveland, then we go to row 9, where it's Dan Cornish and Lisa Clark, both danger drivers from that position, I would suggest, and Jeffrey Nunberg and Darren Bernstein go from row 10.
Then we find Neil Langberg alongside Lance Cawley, another one of our championship contenders in the Coppa Shell&AM class. He rolls off 22nd. 23rd is Steve Check alongside Dave Williams for row number 12.
It's P25 for Louis Perescoya. Roger Monteforte then will be going from P26. And then alongside Dana Goodwin going from P28, it is, of course, Anthony DiCarlo from P27. So the cars then will weave from side to side and try and generate some temperature into the tyres at some point on this lap. They're being led around by the Richard Mills safety car. Always a rolling start in the Ferrari Challenge, and that's precisely where we're at right now, with the cars making their way around this very, very long lap here, Shay.
Going through the carousel now, the car is just starting to fall into the line a little bit better, but our pole sitter is Bruce Cleveland. He looks calm, cool, and collected. Amanda, did you get those vibes from him on the grid?
You know, I actually really do. He is pretty stoic in his approach, and, you know, he had that breakout weekend in Sonoma, kind of taking both wins there out in wine country, but it wasn't the first that we've seen him on podium. He actually had 3 runner-up finishes to head into that weekend, and what I like about Bruce here, you know, we've talked about championship. Lisa is leading it. You have Lance Cawley right behind Lisa, but a lot of drivers say that they don't think about points. They don't think about points. Do you guys really believe that?
In a word, no.
Yes, actually.
Oh, okay.
Because I have experience with one who has no idea what's going on in the championship, and it's my job to keep him well informed of that.
Well, I never did.
But yeah, it's a very rare thing in that situation. And Bruce, I very much liked what he said to Amanda in his poll interview about not wishing ill upon Lisa Clark, that he wants everyone to do their best, and then let's see how things come out. I really do appreciate that, because if you've got someone who's got an opportunity to win a championship, but they need a lot of misfortune for someone else, you know that's what they're thinking in the back of their mind. I believe Bruce isn't. No,
and I think you're right, and I think that sentiment in the Ferrari Challenge is commonplace, if I'm honest with you. You know, a great bunch of people who love racing in the Ferrari Challenge, and whilst they're uber competitive when they're out there on the grid, they have great camaraderie amongst themselves in the paddock as well. Here we go then, the cars are lining up. We split the screen so you can see them on the exit of turn 14, and then that big climb up towards the start-finish straight. The first cars you can see are Cameron Root and David Veronin, Gray Falver and Ray Acosta virtually welded to the back of the front row. Of course, it is the responsibility of Root and Veronin to control the pace of the rolling start heading towards the green flag. And it is going to be Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell Race 1. A great start from Cameron Root then, who does just nose it ahead of David Veronin then and converts his pole position into P1. So Veronin now goes into defensive mode. And all cars going into that turn number 1, which is something of a funnel here. But fingers crossed, all get through that. There's a lot of runoff area there, but you want to see all the cars on the tarmac going through all okay, and I think that's happened, Shay.
Brilliant start from Root, timing it to perfection. But the good news for everybody else, they held their columns. Race control has no need to evaluate that start for anybody deserving of a penalty. Everybody finally listened to what they say in the drivers' meetings. I'm proud of y'all.
Clean and tidy start. That was really, really good to watch. So, right, let battle commence now.
Ooh, side by side, that's Dan Cornish and Jeffrey Nunberg looking down the inside, going into turn number 5. Does Nunberg get the pass done? We'll have to wait and see. It's off on the side of the track. It's Roger Monteforte, car number 101. He has had rear end contact.
Yes.
I think this is going to be our first caution of the day.
I think you're right. Where that car is situated is going to call for that. Roger Monteforte then, unfortunately, is seemingly out of the race. And that's before the first lap is completed in this Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell race. Then the mix of Shell and Shell&AM drivers as Cameron Root is really stretching his legs over David Veronin, has built up quite a margin already. There you can see Frank Szczesniak chasing down Paul Loschka. That's for P7 in the Coppa Shell race at the moment. No warnings yet from race control with regards to full course yellow or safety car, but we are expecting that to come. Unless Roger Monteforte has been able to get that car going once again. And you can see there Bruce Cleveland on the shirt tails of Roy Carroll.
This is what I love about our race control. It's a very long lap, 4.048 miles. There's a long time before we get back around to that part of the lap again. They are giving Roger Monteforte every opportunity he can to get the car fired up and moved backwards into that gap in the wall for a place of safety, and then we could stay green. So they don't need to pull the trigger. And as I'm hearing now from our wonderful voices on high, he did manage to get the car pulled safely off. So race control doing exactly the right thing. Chapeau to you guys. Todd Snyder, our race director, choosing wisely and allowing this gap to naturally continue.
Yes, well done. You're absolutely right. Good job done there. Both Paul Loschka and Frank Szczesniak moving up past Tor Haugen then. In the meantime, it is Cleveland from Clark from Nunberg to Dan Cornish relegated now. Or Dan Cornish P4 there, all ahead of Roy Carroll. Then it's Darren Bernstein P5. I'm looking at Cyril Choksi right now. Where is Cyril running in P5 at the moment in Ferrari Challenge Coppa Shell? We're right on board with Cyril Choksi right now. He's had quite a bit of success for this Ferrari of Denver driver, Cyril Choksi, this year. And he's chasing down the Ray Acosta car. And as you can see, Frank Szczesniak looking very, very lively. And right behind Frank, Tor Haugen looking a bit lively as well.
And for Cyril Choksi, he raced here back in 2021, where he finished 9th twice, as there is a pass attempt from Frank Szczesniak down the inside, going into turn 6. Beautiful move and makes it stick.
Credit to Paul Loschka, though. He gave him racing room as well, Shay. It could so easily have ended in tears, but it didn't. And unfortunately, around has gone Tor Haugen. Does get it going again. Please, every other driver avoid that stricken 125 car, which they did.
And it's not a great spot there at turn 7. It is a difficult opportunity to try and get your car going once again, but he did manage to do it in a safe manner and continues. Now coming under the Bratwurst Bridge, going into the carousel, and now making the run onto the long back straight. So if he is a little bit off the pace, he does have an opportunity to pull over and avoid danger for everyone else, but it looks like he's going all right.
There is the 158 car that you can see of Bruce Cleveland, and there is Lisa Clark, who is P2. Of course, Lisa Clark chasing those points down. Jeff Nunberg running in P3 at the moment. Dan Cornish is P4. Now, Bruce Cleveland would love the cushion, potentially, of a Shell driver between himself and Lisa Clark, just to give him a little bit of protection, but it's going to be oh so difficult to overtake. We're following Lisa Clark then, who is running P2, but I remind you, Lisa Clark in a very, very good position in the Drivers' Championship points, and deservedly so.
Yes, she's had a great year so far, has Lisa Clark, coming into this race weekend. 5 pole positions, 3 wins, a 2nd and a 3rd, as well as 2 fastest laps She also ran here back in 2021, so she has the experience on the old surface. But I'm not sure if Cleveland is trying to get a spot between him or if he is genuinely trying to hold back Lisa, because Lisa is fast.
Absolutely. Really got onto the gearbox of Bruce Cleveland on the approach to turn number 1. So Lisa Clark very much meaning business here. So Bruce Cleveland, you can see in the 158 car, and then in the orange liveried machine, it is Lisa Clark right behind now. Now ahead of them is the car of John Viscap, I believe.
Yep.
And that is the car that either one of those drivers would like to try and get by. But for the moment, it's playing nicely into the hands of Lisa Clark, in my opinion.
Completely agree with that. Their fastest lap times, well, the fastest lap of the class went to Lisa, just barely faster than what Bruce Cleveland had done. But John Viscap was 2/10 slower than the pair of them. So he is holding them up in a sense. These two battling it out, really honing their craft in the Coppa Shell&AM class. They are super competitive, fighting for their own trophy, and John Viscap is just there right now. But there's nothing that he's doing wrong.
Absolutely not. And it is always the case that you can be quicker than the car in front of you, but you've got to find a way by it. And it's fair to say, and it's been spoken about by you and by the drivers as well, that since the repaving of this wonderful Road America circuit, it's made overtaking pretty tricky, to be honest, and you've got to have a great deal of bravery, as now you can see that Jeffrey Nunberg is taking a look at Lisa Clark as well. So Lisa, of course, wants to get on terms with Bruce Cleveland, but also has to be minded to protect her P2 position from Jeffrey Nunberg and potentially Dan Cornish.
Yes, because Dan Cornish is right there as well. And how wonderful is it to see Jeffrey Nunberg battling for podium positions? A man who a few years ago came into the Ferrari Challenge after climbing the ladder and said, you know what, guys? I don't think I'm ready for the competitive aspect yet. I want to keep working in the challenge, in the club challenge, as there's an issue as Dan Cornish goes slightly off the track at turn 13. Does he recover and continue? Yes, he does continue around. That's good news to see. But a big plume of dust from him as he went off the track. Let's take another look at that. Oh yeah, just a little too wide coming through turn 13.
To be fair, hats off and hands up to Dan Cornish. He controlled that really, really well. So many drivers would have lost out there. What will that have done to his tyres, though? Potentially a little bit of dust on those tyres?
A lot less than what we saw in the last race, going off of turn 5, where there is a bit more debris and detritus around. Going through the stones and the gravel and the dust as it is there, that'll come off the Pirellis fairly quickly. Okay,
and Diaz got back right up to pace very, very quickly, hasn't he? And he's beginning to chase down Jeffrey Nunberg. And in terms of the Coppa Shell lead, with Cameron Root, who's showing a pair of heels to the extent of 1.2 seconds over David Veronin at the moment. Then Gray Falver, who's running in P3. They're ahead of Acosta, Choxy, Szczesniak, Loska, and Alfredo Gaia. Jan Bernier running P9 and Rob McWilliams P10 at the moment. So Paul Loska then in the all-red Ferrari of San Diego car, currently running in P7. Here's Amanda.
This is his second event that we've seen him. He made his debut in Sonoma, and he was kind of a ball of nerves there, but I tell you, there's a lot of confidence in Paul Loska here this weekend. Said he's been working on a lot of time on the sim, getting ready for Road America, and said he hadn't entered into a racetrack feeling more prepared, but said he is absolutely bitten with the bug of racing and is motivated by the mistakes he makes in order to kind of right them as we go track to track. His family is here with him this weekend. They rented a little house not too far from the track, so they're hanging out. But one of the things that Paul wanted me to make sure that I said on air is he is a Marine Corps veteran out here racing proud.
Oh, well, thank you for your service, sir. That is wonderful. I love that we get military men and women who watch these broadcasts, cheer us on, and then even get to compete in these events.
Wonderful.
And yes. Marine Corps,
yes.
Goodness, they are built tough. 21 minutes left in this race.
Here now is Cameron Root. Now, just don't want to read too much into this, but David Veronin has squeezed the gap a little bit and is getting a bit closer to Cameron Root right now. So These two have had some wonderful, wonderful on-track battles during the course of the season, and there you can see the reason why David Veronin sets the fastest lap at 2:10.565, and it has to be said he's doing that in a car that isn't his.
Which is even more impressive. The B-Safe storage is something we've long associated with Roy Carroll, and welcome back to this championship, Roy. We've missed you for a long time, my friend, but he is running in the Coppa Shell&AM category, whereas David Veronin in the 177, he had an issue in testing the other day. It ultimately resulted in his car not being able to race anymore this weekend. Roy said, I've got a spare, you can use it. Roy Carroll, gotta love him. So the fact that David Veronin is out here doing as well as he is in a car that's not his, fighting for a championship that he's still very much in contention for.
Indeed.
That is even more impressive. But I'll tell you one thing, Dave. Last night, we were sitting in the media center doing some prep work, and I've looked at my notes after writing them out and went, Cameron Root, how many wins has he got this season? Don't look at your notes. Just say it off the top of your head.
I can't, because I'll guess wrong, and I know I will.
One. I would have thought that Cameron Root had 3 wins right now in the season.
Yeah, there you
As
go.
the championship leader, David Veronin has 4. It's even more impressive that Cameron Root is leading the championship
Consistency.
as consistently as he is because of that.
And something else I want to mention here as we watch David Veronin getting ever closer to Cameron Root is the fact that the parity of these cars are absolutely identical where the driver makes the difference, and that is the proof of that pudding is in the eating. And well, a big cloud of dust there.
Dan Cornish just running wide in the kink, but managed to bring it back on the track.
The proof of that pudding is the fact that David Veronin is in effectively a car that isn't his, but he's still able to perform so well to be within 8/10 of our race leader. This is Jeff Numberg running P3 in Shell&AM.
Because all the cars are exactly the same.
Yes.
They're identical across the board, and the difference between the classes is only the driver behind the wheel.
So Lisa Clark then, who initially was really taking it to Bruce Cleveland, but Bruce has got the hurry up and he's got a margin of some 3 seconds over Lisa Clark right now. So let's ride on board with Cyril Choksy in the 173 car, who's chasing down Ray Acosta ahead. So there you can see the back end of the 107 488 Challenge Evo that we can see through Cyril Choksy's windscreen here. Wonderful to ride on board. Now, you can see the screen in the middle of the dashboard there. That's because these 488 Challenge Evo cars don't have a rear view mirror. Instead, there's a big safety bulkhead there. So they have this screen as Frank Szczesniak and Cyril Choksy go side by side here.
and
Szczesniak has been on a mission today.
Frank Szczesniak has mastered the art of making the pass in turn 6. That's the second time he's done it in this race, and he has it figured out completely. I wondered why Cyril Choksy was doing the line he was going into turn 5.
Defending.
Because it was a little bit of defense. But
Yeah.
yes, Ray Acosta, if I had been Cyril, I would have stayed tucked up behind Ray, but he'd moved over just that little bit. Well, it was because Szczesniak was right behind him, and we couldn't see it from
No.
that angle. Szczesniak was popped out, too far out behind the rear view camera.
Yes, and the drivers always tell the drivers that have told me that they prefer that rear view screen, if you like. It gives them a bigger and better vantage than a rear view mirror does. Didn't work for Cyril Choksy on that occasion, to be fair, but there is Frank Szczesniak then, bit between his teeth in the 122 car, moving himself up to that P5 position now, and I have to say he's got Ray Acosta on the end of his fishing line, if I may be so bold here.
And he is looking to make the pass. Definitely going to have a look going into turn 1. The two of them are very close together, and the draft will be strong for Frank Szczesniak as he goes up the hill right behind Ray Acosta, looking at a potential 4th place. Frank Szczesniak has not been on the podium when he hasn't gotten pole, so he's looking to try and set that right today. As he looks down the inside, shows the nose very early, gets the pass done into turn 1. Can he keep it on the racetrack? Yes, he can. Beautiful move from Frank Szczesniak. 2 passes in the span of a lap.
Brilliant driving we're seeing here, and Cyril Choksy trying to take advantage as well and try and regain a position with him trying to go through on Ray Acosta as well. But for Cyril, it didn't work on that occasion. It's a question of when, not if. I think that Cyril Choksy will have a go on Ray Acosta here. So as they run downhill now, puts his car to the inside line, tries to scrub the speed off here.
Nope.
Wasn't going to be done.
He was very smart about that, though, was Surreal Choxy, as Ray Acosta went way deep, and Frank Szczesniak went even deeper, running well off the track. Now they were side by side going through turn 6. Szczesniak had to give up the position, and Ray Acosta is back through.
This is a brilliant fight that is going on, and we've got a grandstand seat here because we're on board with Surreal Choxy, watching this fight going on. Now, this is it's a three-way fight actually for P4 in the race. We're riding on board with Surreal Choxy, who's currently P6. The car you can see through the windscreen is that of Frank Szczesniak, who had got by Ray Acosta, then lost the back end of the car. Acosta came back, said, "Thanks very much, I don't need 2 invitations to try and take that place back," and he took it.
And Paul Loxa is right there as well. Now he has tuned into this, so we have a 4-way battle for the 4th place.
Wow. And I just mentioned that Bruce Cleveland has put a cushion between himself and Lisa Clark by way of Matt Dalton as well, and he's some 3 seconds up the road. So the initial attack phase from Lisa Clark, who I think is thinking about collective points, and she's stoic, which is a word that Amanda used earlier. I love that word. Is in the P2 position with Jeffrey Nunberg running P3. Then it is Dan Cornish and Darren Bernstein. So the cars climb up the hill, then heading towards the start-finish line. And of course, that's turn number 1. That's oh so inviting, where Frank Szczesniak did put that move on earlier on. He's not close enough to be able to do it this time on Ray Acosta, so it's not going to be a carbon copy of that move.
Nope, and now we've got Paul Loska, who's looking at the back of Surreal Choxy going, I can do this, is further back down the field. Roy Carroll is very much enveloped in the Shell&AM class battle.
Yes, you're absolutely right. So there is the second of those liveried cars that you mentioned. Let's get some more now from Amanda.
Well, Shay, there is a reason for that. Roy is not typically this slow. What's happened is they're kind of chasing some issues that bit him earlier in the weekend. But as you said, welcome back to Roy Carroll. I did get to catch up with him and the family in Sonoma, and he's getting ready for some stiff competition from his own family. Madison Carroll will be out here racing with us next year. His daughter Brittany just finished, is going through Corsa Pilota right now. So all these Carrolls, we're going to be seeing them on track here soon.
Bring all the Carrolls to come play. Please, please, please. That would be so much fun. And can we have different cartoons of the bees as well?
Yeah,
that would be very fun. There was a moment there for Matt Dalton, who ran wide through turn number 1. Matt is also having a bit of issue. Tor Haugen, the next car ahead of Matt Dalton, but he's dropped down quite a few positions. And now he is indeed right ahead of Dan Cornish, Jeffrey Nunberg, and is that Ray Acosta? Yeah, Ray Acosta is right there too. So it's Ray and Surreal, and Szczesniak is back out in front of all of them. Goodness, that's a big change up.
Wow. And just look at the pace that he's got now that he's broken away from. Oh, that's a bold move.
Loxa made it stick, too, going through Canada, and then ran a little bit too wide. So Ray Acosta was able to get back. That's a battle for the 6th position on the racetrack.
And the thing is this not typical of Ferrari Challenge racing? You know, we can pitch our cameras wherever through the entire grid of cars. There's always battles going on all the way up and down the field. It's a job to know where to go.
The gaps don't change that much, and the battling certainly doesn't change. It doesn't matter who it is, it's just the names and the positions that tend to vary. As Cameron Root now only has 0.4 of a second of a lead, because the last lap around, David Veronin found speed in the Be Safe car. No, the number 177 Be Safe car, and he put in a very quick lap time. Now, the battle for the lead is well and truly on.
So the brake rotors then lighting up as fastest lap now in response from Cameron Root, as David Veronin has got ever closer. The gap between the two of them just under 5/10. So what have we got? 11.5 minutes of the race remaining. There have been so many fantastic battles between these two drivers during the course of the season, and what I want to say is the fact that the fights have been fraught, but absolutely fair as well. Healthy respect from each of them, and it's brilliant to watch.
Clean is exactly what you want from these drivers, and that's exactly what you get from David Veronin and Cameron Root. A lot of respect. I'm still shocked at the fact that Cameron Root has only won the 1 race so far this year, trying to set that right. Veronin wants to get more race wins, because that's the easiest way to try and get back in the championship lead.
Of course. And at the moment they are, well, they are split by merely nothing between the two of them. But David Veronin is going to have to try and pitch his place in terms of where he's going to try and make an overtake attempt on Cameron Root, and Cameron will be wise to that and aware of it, and he will, of course, drive in a defensive line and try and seal off any opportunity that David will feel that he may have to get the better of the 199 car. Let's see how it develops over the remaining 10.5 minutes. 2/3 of the race gone already in a flash, to be honest with you, as they track start-finish straight, heading towards the right-hander, which is turn number 1.
And that's exactly what Veronin needs to be the most aware of. 10.5 minutes to go means if you make an attempt and it doesn't work, you do have time to make another one, but you don't want to risk getting something on your tires and then falling back into the clutches of Gray Favre, who's 4.5 seconds back, but still looking to try and get yet another podium position. This kid is excellent. Gray has come into the series and he has done 4 races. 3 of them have turned out into wins, and the other one was a second place finish. So third would be a new trophy for Gray. He doesn't want a new trophy though. He wants one of the ones he's already got.
Of course, yes, of course. Brad, very, very proud, that's for sure. So Cameron Root then, David Veronin, it is as we were then, with just about 5/10 between them, as near as makes no difference between P1 and P2. At the moment then it's Gray Favre, P3, Frank Szczesniak, who's had a remarkable drive up to P4. And how close is Szczesniak to Gray? Well, he's got quite a bit of time to make up.
13.5 seconds.
That's going to be a big ask. Bruce Cleveland, Lisa Clark, and Dan Cornish running P3 now in Coppa Shell&AM.
And Bruce Cleveland with the fastest lap of the race, as there was a spin for Paul Loxton. No, he was doing such a good job. Oh, that was at turn 5. Paul managing to get the car pointing in the right direction and continuing around once again. No damage to the car. Let's see what happened. Coming in behind Ray Acosta, just loses the tail end of the car. So easily done, too.
But kept a very, very cool head and got it pointing in the right direction as quickly as would be possible for anybody, I would have suggested.
Yep.
So well done. And yes, it was unfortunate, but pointing in the right direction again and can continue for the remainder 8.5 of this race, as Cameron Root right now stretches his legs a little bit over David Veronin. I just wonder whether David is playing a little bit of a game here and is going to come much, much closer towards the end of the race.
Ooh, big wiggle from the tail of Cameron Root at the exit of 14. That will give an opportunity for Veronin to catch him, because it's long straight, and if you make a mistake at the beginning, it'll catch up to you by the end of it. Let's see what that does to the lap time. Well, it was fastest lap last time around for Cameron Root, so that little wiggle not costing him too much, but all of a sudden Veronin closes in. The long straight drafting makes a big difference here, and it's made a big difference in this championship battle.
You're absolutely right. So Veronin now, you can just see the front end of the car just looking a little bit unsettled as the braking force was put through the middle pedal of that 488 Challenge Evo in his quest to chase down the Cameron Root car. This is our leader in Coppa Shell&AM. It is Bruce Cleveland for Ferrari Silicon Valley. And he has got the Thor Haugen car right behind him. Now, Thor is in a completely different category. Therefore, the next challenger to Bruce Cleveland is Lisa Clark and Dan Cornish. But he has got the protection of a comfort cushion, if you will, of not only 1, but 2 Coppa Shell drivers now, Thor Haugen and John Viska.
There's Lisa Clark across the line. Her last lap was 2 minutes 14.352. Bruce Cleveland's last lap, 2 minutes 14.236. So separated by a 1/10 on the timing screens, but a couple of seconds on the actual track.
So Lisa Clark then with the 127 car, looking cool, calm and collected out there, and it's been a stellar season, is being a stellar season for Lisa Clark, richly deserved. You can see the all-yellow machine of Dan Cornish, the Ferrari of Austin driver, who's running in P3. Another hugely competitive driver who at one point during the season was leading the championship, Shay.
He was very early on. The hometown hero when we were at Circuit of the Americas, I seem to remember, for Dan Cornish. So he was very happy when we were back there, and he has raced at Road America. He was here in 2021 in this class, finished 6th and 4th, which means that pattern-wise he should finish 2nd at some point across this weekend. You know how I like patterns.
Back to your, yes, back to your patterns.
He did miss our races at Road Atlanta and Sonoma. Of those starts that he has accrued, though, 3 wins, 1 pole, and 1 fastest lap. So Dan Cornish always a championship threat if he does the full season.
Yes, That's what it's all about, isn't it? So Dan Cornish then, and there is the orange and blue colours of Lisa Clark, and you have some news from your eagle eyes on the timing screen.
They have crossed the start-finish line in the lead of the Coppa Shell class, and David Veronin, fastest lap of the race. The gap between the two is down to 0.3 of nothing at all, and it is now 2:09.345 with a bonus point going the way of Veronin.
And the fight is on for the P1 place between Cameron Root and David Veronin then. As we watch these two now, Cameron Root all wise to the fact that David Veronin is right there behind him. So who is going to make a bold move, or when is David Veronin going to make a bold and brave move somewhere on this track? Now, Shay's intimate knowledge of this track, you know where best David would be able to pitch himself, and he takes a look. But Cameron was able to carry just a little bit more speed there. So I said that I thought David Veronin had perhaps eased off just a little bit and he was going to come good again towards the end of the race. I don't very often say much that's right, but I think that is what's happening here.
I completely agree with your sentiment on that, Dave, and I think that the move opportunity, it's not going to be close enough at Canada this lap around. Again, he's been so quick on the front straight. There is an opportunity going into turn number 1, and if not into turn 1, I think he's going to look and try and make that exact move at turn 7. Again, it's a very unexpected place. He could have a look at turn 5, though. That's the great thing about Road America. So many opportunities to make the pass, the decisive move, but also for Veronin, he can try and lure Cameron Root into making a mistake. That's what's worked for him in the past. So we'll see. Old dog, new tricks? Perhaps not.
Well, time will tell. And it's been a great drive from Bruce Cleveland as well, running in that P1 position. It's also been a great drive from Frank Szczesniak, I have to say as well. It's been really enjoyable to watch the 1-2-2 car and also the 1-3-2 car that you can see there in an almost identical livery to that of Frank Szczesniak. The beauty of the Jan Bernier car, who's under a bit of threat and was under threat from Eric Marston, who's managed to go through on Jan Bernier. And Jan Bernier now with Rob McWilliams for company.
Great to see Robert McWilliams with the fantastic livery back again as David Williams goes for a spin at turn number 5 with the 128 car managing to get pointed in the right direction and continue around the track. So no drama for the Ferrari of Central Florida entry.
So 3 minutes as near as makes no difference remaining in this
lap and one more.
Challenge Coppa Shell race. You're right, such a long lap means just this lap and one more. That means David Veronin has got to find it and find where he is going to try and lure, as you say, Cameron Root into making that tiny error, which is just the impetus he needs to try and make an overtake. And I think it's going to have to be an error. I think they're pretty evenly matched pace, aren't they?
They really are. The last lap around, it was a 2/10 advantage to Cameron Root, but the lap before that, it had gone the other way as Frank Szczesniak and Cyril Choksi still fighting tooth and nail for the 4th position. Szczesniak has it, Choksi wants it, and Choksi was faster the last lap around by nearly a second.
Wow. So a lot going on throughout the pack, but this is the battle for P4 in Coppa Shell between Szczesniak and Cyril Choksi. Then Cyril Choksi driving that all-blue machine, and then Frank Szczesniak, who is currently running in that P4 place. Craig Falver is up the road, and so too, of course, David Veronin and Cameron Root. Bruce Cleveland is P1 ahead of Lisa Clark and Dan Cornish. That's the 1-2-3 in the Coppa Shell&AM. For Coppa Shell, it is Root, Veronin and Falver.
Coming around with 2 minutes left on the clock, there is a battle further down the field. No, it's Anthony DiCarlo. It's lap traffic for our leaders, Cameron Root and David Veronin. Cameron Root is being blocked by some lap traffic. Now, he'll get an extra pull up the hill, but this is the opportunity that Veronin needed.
David Veronin is ready to go side by side with Cameron Root here. Cameron trying to thread his way through the inside here. And you can see that David Veronin is right on him. He takes a late move to the inside, has to duck out of it because that would have been not probably on, and therefore discretion the better part of valor on this occasion. Final lap is started now for Cameron Root, and as you can see, they've got that back marking car that is perhaps hampering their efforts, or perhaps playing into the hands of David Veronin, who might want to chase down, but I think Cameron Root has got him here, and Cameron Root and David Veronin
But look at all the clag that he just had to drive through, did Cameron Root, to try and make the pass. As Luis Peruzquia, no fault of his own, he can't disappear. David Veronin now goes hard on the brakes to try and get a little bit closer going into turn 5. That might have upset Cameron Root's car just the slightest bit, but now the gap has extended between the leading duo on this, the final lap.
Wow. Just all that climbing up the hill, we could see that all breaking out, but credit to all the drivers who kept their heads, didn't they?
Yep, everybody doing exactly what you're supposed to. Remember, the cars are all the same. It's not as if the lead cars can push a button and get an extra boost of horsepower. That doesn't exist.
And as you rightly said, it's not like a car can just disappear into thin air either.
No.
So Cameron Root now, that probably has done for Dave Veronin, but Dan Cornish is fancying P2 in this race here, Shay, and is right on the back of Lisa Clark here. So this is the battle for P2 and P3 in the Coppa Shell&AM race on this, the final lap. The Coppa Shell&AM race being led by Bruce Cleveland, but the final 2 podium positions being contested between Lisa Clark and Dan Cornish.
Lisa lost 1.5 seconds the last lap around. Something went wrong with her. So hopefully she's got enough under her to keep it on the track and keep going around this last lap of the race. 2nd place points for Lisa Clark. Valuable commodity.
Absolutely. And of course, Dan and Lisa are great friends off the track, but climbing up the hill, Cameron Root has done enough to add a victory here at Road America to his tally of only 1, ahead of David Veronin P2, and Gray Falver is going to take P3. In the meantime, for Coppa Shell&AM, this fight for P2 continues, but I really rather think that Dan has done everything he can, and Lisa is escaping up the road now, so hopefully Lisa has held off the attack from Dan Cornish. Credit to both of the drivers, though, for having a go, but maximum credit to this driver, Bruce Cleveland, who, if my memory serves me correctly, is on for something of a hat trick now, because this will be 3rd win in a row for Bruce Cleveland for Ferrari Silicon Valley. Then he has just 1 more turn to do, then he'll climb up the hill and head towards the checkered flag. So Bruce Cleveland then for Coppa Shell&AM is going to be victorious. And here he is then heading towards the checkered flag. Bruce Cleveland wins for Coppa Shell&AM ahead of Lisa Clark and Dan Cornish. You'll see them riding the crest of that hill in just a moment's time. But Bruce Cleveland, another supreme job done indeed.
And he did not do the weekend sweep. We mentioned it earlier on. He got the pole position. He took the race win, but fast lap of the race going the way of Dan Cornish. So congratulations to Dan. Very impressive job coming back to do that and to get a podium finish. Lisa Clark finishing 2nd, extending her championship lead over Lance Colley, but Bruce Cleveland closing in on the 2 of them just a little bit closer. But it's this man, Cameron Root, getting to celebrate here in Wisconsin. Make sure that he gets the airline out of the helmet, and he gets to go get another 1st place trophy. Very well earned. Gets to go celebrate with friends and family.
Oh, fantastic stuff. Another supremely entertaining race then from our Coppa Shell drivers. Good to see. And there you can see, you can just see the Bruce Cleveland car turn in there. And Bruce, what a purple patch Bruce is having.
He really is making the most of the sun shining. He has now had 5 races in a row where he has finished either 2nd or 1st, and 6 out of the last 7 where he has indeed finished 1st or 2nd. So that is a very good season that Bruce Cleveland is stringing together, and you've got to wonder what would have been if he had started the year off in this category instead of being in the Coppa Shell class for the first 2 weekends.
Yeah, it does make you wonder, doesn't it? Here is Bruce Cleveland then, who's brought his car there and is about to extricate himself from this 488 Challenge Evo. And well done to Bruce, having a super time here at Road America.
Love his helmet design as well. It's so cool to match the car, and even the color scheme is perfect to the car as well. It's part of the fun that we get in this series, to get to see all the different colors and designs of the Ferraris, and occasionally the helmets come to play too. So a lot of fun. really, really pleased as well for Gray Favre continuing this streak of great finishes. But let's hear from the man of the hour. Cameron Root is with Amanda Busick.
Shay, I don't think he was that comfortable inside of that race car as he's relaxing on his Ferrari. But I have to attest, I was standing here and your friends and family went absolutely nuts when you got through that traffic on track. But I want to go through the battle here today. You've had some ups and downs this season, now back in the winner's circle for your second win. Talk about the execution needed today.
I think it's practice, focus, sticking to your game plan, not trying to get distracted by what other drivers are doing, and just execute.
For everyone watching, what is it like parking right here and seeing your friends and family?
Priceless. And I just also want to thank God. Thank you.
What an answer. Beautiful. Congratulations, Cameron.
Well done indeed to Cameron Root then. And yes, it must be an awesome feeling. And I regret to say it's probably a feeling I will never experience, Shay, because when it comes to racing cars, I'm useless.
Just enter in a class of one. You're in a class of your own, Dave.
Oh, stop it. Please. You're too kind. You really are. Wonderful shot of the paddock here. And Cameron Root then heading David Veronin and Gray Favre in Coppa Shell. It's Bruce Cleveland, Lisa Clark and Dan Cornish, the top three in Coppa Shell. Two very, very good races in the sun that is beginning to dim now here at Road America.
It's party time for everybody down there at Hospitality. But before we get to that, let's hear from the man who got the pole position, almost the fastest lap. He had it for a while. How badly did Bruce Cleveland want that fast lap, Amanda?
Oh, Shay, I'm sure that he wants every moment that he's experiencing right now, and he said we did it again. And Bruce, man, it is safe to say that the momentum is on your side. How fun of a ride is this?
It's amazing. It was really good. This is a great track. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of things to learn on it, but it rewards you when you do well on things, and it can penalize you when you don't. But I think we had a pretty good run today, and managed to take some places up in front in the class above us, and that always makes it more challenging for our challengers.
From green flag to checkers, congratulations to Bruce Cleveland.
It was a great day for Bruce Cleveland, starting out with that pole position to kick things off and set the tone, and he managed to take it all the way to the checkered flag. It's Cameron Root taking the overall win ahead of David Veronin and Gray Favre, Frank Szczesniak in fourth, and Cyril Choksi in fifth. Osvaldo Gallo coming back to the series managed a sixth position, and Paul Laska was seventh, Ray Acosta eighth, Robert McWilliams ninth, and Eric Marsden rounding out the top 10. The next two Coppa Shell competitors were Jan Bernier and Tor Haugen. In 13th overall was our Coppa Shell&AM winner, Bruce Cleveland. Then Lisa Clark and Dan Cornish for the top three. Jeffrey Nunberg with a fourth place finish. Really good effort from him. We had Neil Langberg a little bit further down, along with David Williams, and not finishing today's race, Roger Monaforte, and not starting Dana Goodwin after that crash in qualifying. Well, we certainly had a show put on for us today in both of the races that we had. But what did it do to the championship? Well, that is where the interest lies. Cameron Root extends his championship lead. He now has an 11-point gap over David Veronin and Cyril Choksi in third on his own, only 18 points out of the championship. Frank Szczesniak in fourth still, but 44 points out of that top spot. Gray Favre, great effort. After only 5 races in the championship, sits fifth in the points for Coppa Shell. We move now to the Coppa Shell&AM category, where it is still Lisa Clark leading the way, but now it's a little bit tighter in that category because after Bruce Cleveland's performance, he's moved up a spot, 14 points out of the lead. Lance Cawley dropping down to third after today, and Dan Cornish, again, having missed a couple of rounds, he is fourth in championship as well, tied with Lance Cawley, but by dint of Lance Cawley's results, it moves him further ahead. We've had 16 drivers total compete in the Coppa Shell&AM category this season, and we should see a few more when we get to the Ferrari Challenge finale over in Italy. But for now, it's party time because we have a celebration tonight, and as was teased a bit earlier on, a fireworks display that is going to be taking place courtesy of Tony Davis and a couple other people down in the paddock. But for now, time to hand out the trophies, drink some champagne, and enjoy the festivities. So on behalf of Dave Richardson and Amanda Busick, I'm Shay Adam. Thanks for joining us today. Please come back for more qualifying and racing tomorrow.